Welcome to our channel. This story was posted by u/crowned_heart in the subreddit Glitch in the Matrix. Let's hear his story now. So a couple of years ago, I was out having a beer with a couple of my friends on my terrace. It was a cloudy, drizzly day and we were all talking about our childhood days. It was a good day. I got up to go to the table with the icebox to get another beer, when suddenly, everything blacked out. Next thing I saw, I was suddenly at a train station which looked from the 1800s. I don't even know if trains existed then, but based on the architecture of the station and people's clothing, it felt around the time period. I was standing under a giant clock trying to make of what this place was and what had just happened. Suddenly, I realized I had a ticket in my hand which said first-class reservation from Brussels to Mechelen. At this point, I would like to clarify I'm from India and back then I still hadn't traveled to Europe, so at that moment, I was still very confused as to where I was and why I had that ticket in my hand. I felt a sense of urgency as the train was ready to leave and the clock under which I was, had struck 2:15 p.m. and the departure time had already passed. But the train was still at the platform blowing its old steam horn. The engine looked brand new, but it was a steam engine like the olden days. I was completely baffled by what was happening, and at this point I saw a man staring directly at me. He was wearing a penguin suit and wore a tall hat and had a huge mustache. His look was more of one wherein I felt he knew something. Something like I wasn't supposed to be there. Just that moment, everything snapped back and I remember lying down on my terrace with both my friends standing over me terrified. I was back at my terrace. I asked them what had happened and they told me what they saw. They said while I was walking towards the table with the icebox, I froze stiff and fell on the ground as if a statue. I was out for hardly 2 to 3 seconds. They saw me falling and came running calling out my name and I just came back to my senses. The feeling was very weird because they said I was out for hardly 2 to 3 seconds, but what I remembered from my experience at the station, I was there for at least 10 to 15 minutes, closely watching everything and everyone around me. To this day, I believe I somehow slipped into another reality, and that man who looked at me, the face of whom I still remember very clearly, I'll never forget, that man somehow realized my slippage into another time period and somehow sent me back. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. I would love to know your thoughts.